4:30. Singaqala?
Yeah.
Or sibalinde abanye bakhona abanebezayo.
That's it for a talk.
Wasibamba ngendlela.
Abafana bakaXoli bhathana.
Ubuxoli.
Abafana bakhe. Ukho yena.
You see?
Oh, basendlini.
Bebuza yonke imfitshi. Okay.
Can we start?
Yeah.
Members of the media, can we start?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Samson Gwede Mantashe. I'm the national chairperson of the ANC. Before everything else, I'm employed in the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy. So you can ask me questions in whatever capacity. I'm an MP, and I'm a member of the ANC in good standing. So those are my capacities. Now, in the light of the numerous calls we have received from many journalists, following the release of the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into State Capture Report, Part 3, I thought it prudent to speak to you collectively, rather than receiving this inquiry one and another one, and speak to all of you the whole day. I thought talking to you collectively would serve better. The report makes specific findings in relation to me in my previous capacity as Secretary General of the ANC, not as a minister. That's why I'm emphasizing that I'm the chairperson of the ANC, because findings that were made are on my capacity as the Secretary General of the ANC. While we note the analysis, findings, and recommendation of the report, my legal team is currently analyzing the report and will thereafter advise me on the next steps to be taken. I presented myself in person, not on papers, and in my capacity as a former Secretary General of the ANC, the governing party, with the firm conviction that the Commission was a necessary cathartic process for our party and for our country, in the process of ridding ourselves of the scourge of corruption. I did so in good faith, trusting the Commission will act in fairness, with high ethical aptitude, without innuendo, and a cloud hanging over any one of us, where legally substantive matters show. I've since released the first. I've since the release of the first volume of the Commission report, cautioned that outcomes of these reports should not be used for which and to escalate individual and certain political personalities. I will not, however, at this stage address myself to the specifics of the findings, as this is a matter that requires legal scrutiny, which is something I am now preparing myself for, with my legal team, for eventuality of supposed investigation recommended in the report. But I've taken the decision that I will be taking the report to judicial review. Okay, I'll take it to, as we believe there are areas in the report that require that action. I will therefore appreciate if you all allow me to carry on with my work in government and in the party without hindrance or further speculation until such time that there is an investigation and there is a case to answer. I want you to underline, until there is a case to answer. The ANC has set up a committee to process the report, and I will subject myself to that process. But I want to refer you to only one clause in the report, which refers this me for investigation. It says, there is a reasonable prospect that further investigation will uncover prima facie case against Mantashe. Basically, there's no prima facie case at this point in time. And the commission says maybe further investigation will actually uncover such a prima facie case. So that is why it should be taken for review. I rest my case. I'm sure I've answered all your questions. That's it. And now to run the conference.
Okay, thank you, Minister, the DG. Members of the media, this is an opportunity for you to put questions to the Minister. With the raise of hands, please state your name and the institution to which you represent before you put your question to the Minister. I'll start here with Sambele.
Samkele Musewe here from the SABC. Mr. Mantashe, since you are speaking in your capacity as the then Secretary General of the ANC, the report further finds that if the ANC government were to lose power, it would be catastrophic for Bosasa. Would you agree with that assertion by the state capture report, particularly linking issues of state capture and how Bosasa's businesses were intertwined with the ANC remaining in government? 2, your president, Cyril Ramaphosa, went to the facility. His son, Andile Ramaphosa, was there and seemingly facilitated a 500,000 rand donation to Mr. Ramaphosa for the CR17 campaign, which you were also part of. Is the report, in a way, not finding any evidence against your president and the virtue that Raymond Zondo still hopes that President Ramaphosa will appoint him as the Chief Justice of the country, because he says the public protector dealt with that particular issue? And lastly, on the security upgrades at your home in Gala and also in Boksburg, where you took journalists.
I took them to Boksburg, to Gala, and to Elliot.
And to Elliot, yes, the farm. Who facilitated those security upgrades? Was the name of Papa Shaban involved there? And was this the beginning of your relationship with Bosasa, now trading as African Global Operations? And then if you are to be found guilty or to be charged, because your step-aside resolution currently says only those who are charged will step aside. When are you charged? If and when you are charged, are you willing to step aside? Thank you.
Okay, the next one. Mule.
Slavinis Gakume's questions.
Mr. Mantashe, clearly Treaty Jones from ENCA. Maybe just one question for clarity. The report speaks about a war room that was established as well, but it also goes to say there should be investigations as to who established that war room for the elections, and I think it was around 2014. Maybe perhaps, can you take us into confidence to maybe tell us who are some of the individuals of the ANC that had been behind the establishment of this war room at the Bosasa facilities in the report? Thanks.
Let me take this and then continue. Now, if the ANC would lose power, then it would be catastrophic for Bosasa. My understanding is that Bosasa has been liquidated. That is all.
I think what says at the time it would have been catastrophic.
Yes.
At the time.
No, him. You are not Masako. You will ask your own question. Bosasa is now liquidated. The ANC has not lost power yet. So that question becomes irrelevant in a way.
Sorry, Mr. Mantashe. But but Mr. Mantashe, the question is, with that particular statement from the report saying, if the ANC were to lose power, it would be catastrophic for Bosasa, does that in any way ring alarm bells to you of state capture, of how business has total influence on the ANC and the awarding of contracts?
No. I'm saying the ANC has not lost power yet. And Bosasa has been liquidated. So that question becomes irrelevant because it is not the loss of power that is the catastrophic results. Musasa is liquidated right away and the ANC is still in power. So that question is totally irrelevant. Papali Shabane worked with Mzonge Nyagaza. The report also confirms that. He worked with Nyagaza because he already knew the family. That was not the beginning. He always knew the family. Actually, Papali Shabane has been to Kala for weddings with a group of young people. Okay, that's how I learned to sing Betty songs. Uba kutongwa utatoa urahadi kutarahadi kulumela ngwana kulumela ayifunde emthathweni abafana bekhona. So that was not the beginning of a relationship. There was an ongoing relationship. That's why in the report I refer to him as a family friend. Okay. And the third question on no findings. Muslim Masif.
On the issue of 500,000 rands, which was donated to the CR17 campaign, and the relationship that Busasa has had seemingly with the AIDS, which is seemingly corrupt in the words of the report.
Okay. Now, the data I'm speaking about myself, I'm not talking about Ramaphosa or Andy or anybody, I talk about me. I'm a subject of the report and I talk about me. Okay? So don't drag me into other people's cases. There are many people in that report. Leave that your headlines, all of them say, the commission found Mantashe, this, all of you. Whether it is on social media or in the newspaper, headlines are about Mantashe. But there's a long list of people in that report. And the war room for elections, that was in Krugerstone. Now you want to know who facilitated it. Let me tell you, in the coming election there will be a war room somewhere else and there will be no Busasa because it is a necessary intervention when you go for elections. You must get your heads together, you must plan for the election, you must develop a war strategy. And that's what happened. So if it happened to Busasa, I said the problem with retrospect is that it is an exact science, you see, because it's after the event, then you can go back to say it was a mistake to have that war room in Krugerstone. But at the time we needed the war room, we found it in Krugerstone, we used it, and we fought those elections successfully. Yes.
Were there no other facilities apart from Busasa facilities that could have been provided for the ANC, Mr. Mantashe?
Now, you're asking like a journalist now. When you look for a facility, when you find a facility, you find it. You don't go around looking for another one. You are suffering from what I call retrospect, an aftermath. That is an exact science. Now, because of what you read in the report, you think you should have looked for another facility. At that point in time, we needed a facility that would work for us to fight the election efficiently. We found it in Busasa and Krugerstone, and we used it.
Can we take further questions? Nakanya?
Nakanya Mdamba from Jacaranda FM. Minister, I don't think you answered Sangala's question about whether you would consider stepping aside if there is a need. To add to that, I'm also curious what exactly you'll be disputing about the process by taking it on judicial review. What about the process do you think was unjust? I think the others were covered. Just also out of curiosity, is there any particular reason why you're not addressing us through ANC channels as opposed to government channels? Because we are even still referring to you as DMRE minister as opposed to former ANC Secretary General, which is what the report was looking at in any case.
You're asking the same question. Why did you use the Bosasa facility and not look for another one? I'm working here, I'm here, and you're all piling me with questions saying, bring them where I am. It's not a government facility. I happen to be here, and I'm talking to you here. Okay, I want to refer you back to a writing in the report itself. There is a reasonable prospect that further investigation will uncover prima facie case against Mantashe. Okay, the report itself says there is no prima facie case. Okay, but you are all saying, why don't you step aside? There is no prima facie case. That's why they refer for further investigation, because there is a reasonable prospect that further investigation will uncover prima facie evidence. That's it. And that evidence in that case is not there now. I can refer you to a number of cases where they will try to say the commission is not able to find a lawful authority or excuse. Therefore, quid pro quo doesn't apply. You can go, that report goes with those reports throughout, where it says it can't link me to anything, but it thinks, somebody thinks, if there is further investigation, that prima facie case will be found. That is what we're dealing with, and my argument is that we should take it on review, because you can't have a judicial process that makes assumption. You know, when I give them, they say, we're not convinced. We didn't believe this. And I went through the report, even on the Gama case. That's what they believe. They don't believe what I said, but they believe something else. So if it's a judicial process, it doesn't listen to evidence. It only makes assumptions. Then it needs to be reviewed judicially. Okay.
Thank you, Minister. Tewo?
Okay, Tewo with the SABC. Okay,
It's fine, you can speak.
Tewo with the SABC. That Mantashe, you're one of those who hailed the process, this commission, as something, as a tool that would help the ANC to rid itself of corruption. Sitting here, are you disappointed that something that you were pinning your hopes on comes, because looking at, you reading that the recommendation there seems to say to you, this is a shoddy job, because it seems there is nothing tangible against you, but now the commission defers its responsibility to someone to go and investigate you. Are you disappointed that the commission has come to that conclusion, and you see that as an unfair process on you? It's unfair on you. And maybe secondly, in hindsight, would you say the relationship between the ANC and Bosasa was very unfortunate, that at some point the ANC had to be on trial, because some people were saying the ANC was on trial at that commission? That on its own has embarrassed and demeaned the ANC to the level of an organization that's steeped in corruption. Was that relationship very unfair? Unfortunate, rather.
The commission, I make the point in the statement here. I say, I presented myself in person, in my capacity as former Secretary General. I went to the commission 4 times for information, because I thought that commission must be supported. And I still believe it was a good act to support it, so that it does its work, it does its investigation, it makes its finding. To be disappointed by a finding, if there is an opportunity to take that report to the judicial review, that is still the process. I think the necessary process to clean the process and clean the outcomes of the report. The commission will have to be careful not to find itself into caught in crossfires of ANC political factions. It must give us judicial results following the investigation. It has listened to all of us. It must not discount evidence given to it and then come to a decision that it is suspecting that there will be a different result. It can't work that way. I'm not disappointed, but I know it is human to err. That's why I will take the report to the Judicial Commission.
There was a hand there at the back. So we are going something.
I'm here with some game. Until I had
from Sunday Times. But I think after the release of the first part, you said that the Zondo Commission report must not be used by comrades to finish each other off. When you said that, did you foresee where we are today as of yesterday in terms of the findings against you? Secondly, when you spoke to my esteemed colleague, Situmo Stone, you said you were under attack. You said a whole lot of things. You included even the energy wars that are ongoing.
talking to him on the commission.
No, but I'm going to link it to
Leave that.
Okay.
We're talking of the commission.
Okay. In any case, I wanted to say that do you believe what is happening now is part of that attack that you were talking about when you spoke to Situng?
No. You are missing the point. I said we should not use the report to attack each other and axe everybody else. I still believe that is the correct position. That's why investigation is not an ANC process. It will be a state process. We should respect that. The ANC has a committee to look through this report and will respect that committee. It must process this report, call people if you want to, and we all subject ourselves to that. So that is the essence of how we must deal with this report. Comply with ANC processes, comply with institutional processes, but don't opportunistically use the report. You know, 3 journalists today asked me the question about stepping aside, and I asked those journalists, which part of the report says I should step aside? Where does it find the fault? They said no, but it is pointing a finger at you. What does it say? Because I read the report. And the report is struggling to link me to anything, even if you get the gratification. We can't link it to any public contract. We can't link it to anything. And therefore, this thing, there must be further investigation. There are prospects that prima facie case will be found. And that's where we are. And I think the commission must be respected and be allowed to go to its conclusion.
Thank you. Do we have any further hands there?
I'll look at that white up.
Siviwa?
Yes, thank you, Silvio Tegeta from Soweto. I thought, Mr. Mantashe, you would be direct. You know, when my colleague actually asked you, you know, I think you said...
Who is your colleague?
Mawande.
Oh, from Sunday Times?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Let's ask you a question now. You said it first, and then you actually even repeated yourself, saying people must not use the Zondo Commission report, you know, within the ANC, you know, to fight each other, to destroy each other. Yeah, you use those words, to destroy each other, but rather to correct their mistakes. So you use it to correct their mistakes. And the question is, did you foresee, you know, in terms of what the recommendations of the report and what it will find against you, since you would have been implicated before the commission, did you foresee that, and did you do that in order you know, to ensure that we have a soft landing in terms of whatever outcome of the zoning report will be. That was the question. And the other question.
What are the findings you are referring to?
Yeah, that you must be further investigated because there are reasonable prospects for a prima facie case against you, and that is the finding.
In case there is an investigation.
Mr. Mantashe, I'm simply asking you a question that says, the report says you must be investigated for a reasonable prima facie case of corruption that could possibly be found. That's the report saying that, and you are contesting the report. So I wanted to ask you the question around of you having foreseen the outcome of the report. And the second question that I wanted to ask you is, as someone who has been declaring full support of the work of the commission, if you could have limitations, even in terms of investigating you, you know, what is wrong when it says there are reasonable prospects for uncovering such a prima facie case against you, and that there's a need for law enforcement agencies to actually further deeper into what it could not be able to establish within the time frames? Because many people would have been knowing that the zonal report, the zonal commission would have had time issues where it would have repeatedly asked for extension. Now, if it says, as someone who has been declaring support of the work of the commission, it says we haven't had enough time or resources, we want further investigation of this issue as it relates to you by law enforcement. What is your specific issue with that?
No. The problem is that you want to speak for the commission and speak for the Sowetan. That is a weakness. Don't do that. The report does not complain about time. It is referring my case for further investigation. There are reasonable prospects. Okay. Prospects is about anticipation. You are anticipating. It's not a fact. It's like when you see an emerging trend and you extrapolate into the future, you develop a scenario. Okay? That is what the commission is doing. It is saying, in terms of what we did when we talked to Mr. Mantashe, which it repeats many times that here we can't link him to anything, here we can't link him to anything. But if there is further investigation, and there are prospects that there will be prima facie case against him. Now, that is into the future. The reason that we say that is incorrect, it must be challenged, it must be tested in a legal review, is because it is creating a case out of assumptions. It is not creating a case out of facts before the commission. It is trying to create a case out of assumption. It is assuming that in case there is further investigation, which is somebody else must do the investigation, that somebody else may find a prima facie case. That is the issue that we're questioning. Okay? I want to learn.
The first part, to go, Mr. Mantashe.
Yes.
The foreseeing part.
Foreseeing what?
No,
The question is, did
Mr.
you
Mantashe, remember.
No, Mamilan. This thing of talking as if when I speak for myself, is out of order actually. When I talk about the report, I have been to that commission 4 times. I would imagine the next session that will come on deployment committee, it will say a lot about me because I went to the commission and talked about it. So if I didn't anticipate that the commission will say anything about me, why did I go to the commission? I went to the commission because I knew that it was going to talk about everybody else. All I'm saying is that there must be a distinction between what the ANC does and what institutions of state do. That's why when I clarified this right, I said the responsibility to arrest, to prosecute, and to convict is not an ANC responsibility. There must be no styles of the ANC that say so-and-so must be arrested, so-and-so must be locked up, so-and-so must be... Because it's not their responsibility. That is the responsibility of the state. If that position was correct then, it is correct now.
Okay, thank you. can go back to Samgele.
Okay, thank you.
This is going to be the last round. Eh?
Okay.
Samgele. I proceed to executive. Minister, just in essence, the fact that there was a direct question to you. Mawan, just.
Minister, there was a direct question to you. If and when you are charged, are you willing to step aside? 2, who,
Ibami. You see something? I'm not charged now. Okay. You see, one of the things I don't do, one of the training I went through was developing a scenario planning. Now, if you want me to talk to you about scenarios, it's a different matter. But if you ask me about the outcome of this report, that's totally different. Now, when you want me to develop scenarios, what if I think you will have to meet a man called Clement Sander. He will take you how you develop scenarios into the future. Please, ask your question.
who organized the security upgrades at your home? Was it Papali Shabani, or how did it come about? Then the last question, on the issue of business in the ANC, there is a company which is doing business with BMR, Batu Trust, right now, which is involved in the shale gas exploration in the coast in the country. They've donated 15 million rands to the African National Congress. Is this not another case of the SASA, where business gives money to the ANC in return for contracts and business in the state? Thank you.
Okay. Who organized security? We decided on that as a family. Okay. Mzonga was head of my security, organized it. In the process, he interacted with Papali Shaban. They worked together in installing it. That is the answer. Okay. You want to bring the Batu trust and share, which has been raised in the Eastern Cape exploration, upstream exploration. My answer to that was, if ANC companies where ANC has invested, invest in development, that's a good sign. Okay. If they invest on companies where they consume wealth, it's a bad sign. So if Batu Trust has invested in Shell, and Shell want to develop gas and oil prospects for the country, that is a good prospect. But where you all miss the point, Samke, is that Shell is but one. ENI in the KZN coast was harassed, to court 47 times. It left that it went to Cote d'Ivoire and discovered a lot of oil in Cote d'Ivoire. Okay. This company that was in the Western Cape now, which has been stopped as well. So it's not Shell, it's about a fight, an anti-development movement that stops investment in upward exploration of gas and oil. And if we continue with that, I said in the conference, we're just developing ourselves into an island of angels in a sea of poverty, because Shell leaves us here, but to trust, it goes to Namibia, it makes 2 discoveries. Okay, now, we are not doing exploration because we're killing investment at exploration level, and you take every investment to court, because there's no investor who will sit here and wait for 5 years for our legal process to move. And that's a different matter altogether. It has nothing to do with corruption, it has everything to do with development.
Sorry not to take over your briefing, but Minister, National Chair, former SG, you're missing the thrust of the question. The question is, with Batu Trust giving the ANC 15 million rands, knowing very well that they're doing business in your department, is it not creating another scenario of African global operations, Busasa?
No. The ANC invested in TAB in 1992. I'm sure you were not born then. It invested in TAB in 1992. It is TAB that invested in Shell through Batu. Now, do you say because it is investing in Shell and I'm appointed here for the last 4 years, they must withdraw their investment there? That is illogical. That is how you kill investment. And it is this view that think that ANC must not do business, it must not receive people who donate, it must not do anything. It's another campaign to accelerate the death of the ANC somewhere. That it must die quick will be better, and you will discover when you are not better that it was a mistake. So I don't want us to mix things, but TAB, the ANC invited in 1992, and what do you say it should do now? It's doing well, and it gave dividends to the ANC. But because of the law, it cannot go beyond 15 million, even if it's doing well.
Thank you.
I'm covered.
Okay. Gwede?
Chair, can you? Chair, the Commission has spent just over $1 billion of taxpayers' money into what it's done, and you've said that you've raised concerns saying it's creating a case out of assumptions and not facts. Do you still believe that the Commission has fulfilled its obligations in unraveling these allegations of state capture that took place in the country, or you think it failed? Thank you.
This is the third report of the Commission. It is talking to a number of issues. It talks about Transnet, it's talking about this, it is talking about this. Now it has released a third report. And if you are not happy about a particular aspect and you think it must be taken to judicial review, you don't say it must be defined. You see the difference is that I'm not articulating a point that says this report is useless, therefore this commission has wasted money. I've not said that. I'm saying where they commit tactical mistakes, they must be taken through a proper legal process. Okay? And we spend money on it ourselves, and the commission will spend money in defending itself. That is the correct route to take. So it is not wasted the 1 billion rand. It has run its course, it has produced 3 reports, there's still another one coming. And so, is that a waste of money? It has produced the reports. I've looked at the other many reports that it has gone through. But the issue I'm making is that where it makes a technical mistake, everybody who went to that commission must have a right to locate it on judicial review. Everybody.
Thank you. Oh, there are no further. Oh, Mokanya and Mawande. I think that those are the last 2 hands we are taking. Thank you. Mokanya.
Thanks. Just a follow-up from earlier. Gwede Mantashe, do you stand by your testimony before the Commission that you did absolutely no wrong? That even if there are further investigations...
I absolutely didn't.
Okay, is that better? Okay, my question was just, do you stand by your testimony before the Commission that you did no wrong whatsoever in what we now know to be state capture? And should there be further investigations, as the report has recommended, that nothing at all will come up in those? To the best of your knowledge, obviously, I mean, you know the relations that you have had or have not had with Busasa and co. And then is the fact that you're labeled as a
Busasa
and co, and whoever else you are linked to, etc.
It says Musasa Code.
Let's just go with Musasa. Let's just stick to Musasa.
Code.
Then whether you're linked to, there will be nothing else that comes up that links you to Ibusasa to the best of your knowledge. And then is the fact that you're labeled as a brilliant connection to have facilitated corrupt dealings between Ibusasa as well as ANC structures enough to see you hauled before the Integrity Committee of the ANC. Are there any talks just yet that you will appear before the committee to answer to those, even though, even if it's not to step aside, but to answer to those just for the mere fact that you are implicated and that you're labeled in the report?
You are actually asking me if there is a case of perjury against me. That's the essence of your question. Because you're asking if I lied under oath. It's called perjury in law. And obviously when I make a statement under oath, I make a serious statement. I'm not changing it as I like. It's a different issue when the commission says we're not convinced. But when I make a statement, I make a statement to the best of my knowledge. Therefore, if you ask me if am I guilty of perjury, I don't think I'm guilty of any perjury. I don't lie under oath. Now, you're asking if there will be anything that comes about me and Musasa. I don't know if there is another commission that is being run. Maybe when there is another commission, there will be other issues asking that commission will respond to.
My second question, please.
What is your second question?
Coming before the Integrity Committee, is it enough that you're labeled as a brilliant
The
connection?
Integrity Commission is not using journalists to invite us. Doesn't do that. When they want to talk to you, the Integrity Commission writes a letter to you, invite you there. I have no invitation from the Integrity Commission. And I know for sure it will not send you as a journalist to invite me to the Integrity Commission. It will never. That's not how it works.
Thank you. The last hand, Mawanda.
On the issue of the step aside, I'm going to leave the step aside guidelines on the side for now and ask the question this way. As a seasoned cadre of the mass democratic movement and a senior politician within the ANC and government in this country, out of your own conscience and moral compass, seeing that there's, of course, it's a dent that can be removed if you win on review, of course. Out of that own conscience and all the troubles that the ANC and its government is facing in terms of its image, don't you see it fit that at this stage to say, guys, ladies and gentlemen, fellow South Africans, I am stepping aside in the meantime while these processes run their course. Of course, there's no law, as I said, there's no law that binds you to do that, but what does your own conscience say to you right now about the prevailing circumstances, not only as they relate to you, as I said, as a seasoned cadre of the mass democratic movement, and of course, I know you surely love the ANC and you'd want it to have a better image than the one it currently has.
Consciousness is not a religious concept. When it is revolutionary, it's not a religious concept. It is a material concept. Until we move beyond the point of there is a reasonable prospect that further investigation will uncover prima facie case against Mantashe. Once we move beyond that point, then we decide at that point. At this point in time, the commission says there is no prima facie case against Mantashe. Okay? And you say, yeah, there's no prima facie case against you, but step aside. That is religious. Okay? That's very religious. You want me to pray for the future that there will be life thereafter. No. The commission itself says there is no prima facie case against me. It says so. I have not said so. I presented myself to them and they say there's no prima facie case against me, and you say I must step aside, that will be conscious. Consciousness is about dealing with material realities around you. But when there's no prima facie case and I step aside, I'm just impressing everybody else like you who wish to see me stepping aside quicker. I will step aside when we move beyond this point. When then I'm charged, good or not, there is a prima facie case, you are charged, I will step aside. Because that's how it works. It's not stepping aside on the assumption that maybe in future there may be a case against me. It doesn't work that way. Okay, and that's why the ANC is having that committee. That committee processes this case. If the ANC committee says to me, step aside, even if there's no prima facie case against you, I can tell you that I won't do what other people do, where I make a lot of noise in the open. I will comply with the decision of the ANC. I will comply with the decision of the ANC. It doesn't matter what decision it is. But I'm saying, at this point in time, there's no consciousness that says you step aside because there's no prima facie case against you, but please, for God's sake, please step aside. I don't work that way.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe I'm going to follow up.
Hayi no angithi for abnathi udizeka ukuthi ungakhohlwa imibuzo yakhe.
Ufuna to follow up?
No, Mr. Mantashe, I'm not doing a follow-up, I'm just passing on to
The problem is, in the Mamel Bandit, you want to see my back.
We are just asking based. But as I said, for instance, Mr. Mantashe, you didn't address the part about the image of the ANC. What about the image of the ANC and what? Because remember, the whole issue of
Can I tell you the image of the ANC? The ANC supported the commission because it wants to clean its image. But it doesn't mean it must run all directions, helter-skelter, and then its image will improve. No. It will comply with the outcome of the commission. It will comply with the recommendations. It will take it on review when it must, and it will comply with that. That is improving the image of the ANC. The image of the ANC will not be improved by the ANC running all directions. No, it doesn't work that way.
Thank you, Mawande. Yabona sofuna uba i-spokesperson sika-Lizak. Alright. Thank you, Minister.
Okay.
Thank you, DG.
Enkosi.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Enkosi.
Have you disbanded the Steel Gate and Pumara? Mr. former SG, have you disbanded those two provinces? I know your president is going to Pumala on Monday.
Ipon.
Yes, have you disbanded the port?
This one Ipon has not happened.
He's running, that's why he's asking.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That brings our media engagement.
Enkosi kakhulu kunonke.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you.
Akora kudala bana secretary general open na imibuzo yenu kangaka.
10 minutes.
Nakora kudala. Kuba no-SG oniphendula yonke imibuzo yenu. Welcome.
Even if it's an hour.
No, 10 minutes.
Samke.
Welcome to the Paris.
Yeah.